Check. We request the hotel staff to please come near the stage. We request the hotel staff to please come near the stage. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. May I request all of you to please be taking your seats. It's a request, please be seated. The guest has already arrived. Please be seated. I request everybody, please be seated. The guest has already arrived, and may I request all of you to please vacate this front part of this podium kindly. Once again, may I request all of you please be seated. The program will commence in the next 5 minutes. Okay. We request everybody to please be seated, and if somebody is not finding seats in this area, kindly take up the upstairs, and the guest has already arrived. Please be seated, do not stand. Kindly please be seated. Please. Final call, kindly seat, please be seated. The program will start in 5 minutes now. The guest has arrived, please. Sure. My request everybody to put your hands together for the guest. He's arrived. Kindly. Kindly put your hands together. The guest is already here. Please welcome him with your clapping. Good evening to one and all, and a warm welcome to this program. Everybody from students, intellectuals, ladies and gentlemen, and all the dignitaries who are here, extending a very warm welcome. At the outset, I'm very happy. I extend my gratitude for your presence, which is very overwhelming, and responding to our invitation very positively. Your response not merely foregrounds your intense curiosity for intellectual and deliberations, but also demonstrates your love for the nation and your passion for celebrating the proud moment of India's G20 Presidency. On behalf of the Forum for Nationalist Thinkers, Hyderabad, I deem it an honor to welcome you all to this very special talk on India's G20 Presidency by Honorable Union Minister of External Affairs, Shri S. Jaishankar. To commence the proceedings, I request Shri N. Ramchandra Rao Garu, convener of the Forum for Nationalist Thinkers, to come to the dais. Shri Ramachandra Garu is a senior advocate and a former BJP MLC. Please put your hands together for our guest today, Shri Jai Shankar Garu, Dr. Jai Shankar Garu, External Affairs Minister. Now I deem it my privilege to welcome Justice Shri R. Subhash Reddy, guest of honor for today's evening talk onto the dais. Please put your hands together for Shri R. Subhash Reddy Garu, guest of honor for today's talk. I'm immensely happy to invite guest of honor, Honorable Union Minister of Culture, Tourism and Development of Northeastern Region, our very own Shri G. Kishan Reddy Garu onto the dais. Please put your hands together. And now, I invite the man of the moment, the keynote speaker, and a person who has been striving to hoist the tricolor at the apex of the global community, Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar Garu, onto the dais. He's already on the dais. May I please request you all to actually welcome him amidst your roaring, thundering clapping. Thank you very much for your enthusiasm. Thank you very much for your overwhelming presence. May I now request Sri Ramchandra Rao Garu to preside over this meeting. I request sir to take over.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, let me thank you all for giving me my invitation and good response. As Mr. S. Jaishankar is among us, we are all eagerly waiting for him and other guests also to speak to us. I request all the delegates to kindly take their seats. There are many seats on the amphi upstairs and other places also, but don't stand by side of the dais. I request all the delegates here and all guests to kindly be away from the dais. Friends, before we start, I now request Ms. Swati to kindly render Vande Mataram.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam, Subhalam, Malayaj Sheetalam, Sasya Shyamalam, Mataram, Vande Mataram, Subhrajyotsna Pulakitayamini, Pullakusumita Dhrumadala Shobhini, Suhasini Sumadhura Bhashini, Sukhadam Varadam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram. Thank you.
Friends, it's my privilege to have among us Mr. S. Jaishankar, Honorable Minister for External Affairs, Sri G. Kishan Reddy ji, our Honorable Minister for Tourism and Doniar, Tourism and Culture, Sri Subhash Reddy ji, Justice Subhash Reddy Garu, retired Judge, Supreme Court of India. And before we start with the programs, I would like to welcome them by offering bouquets by our delegate, by our volunteers here. Now I request Sri Tirupati Garu, former Vice Chancellor, Osman University, to kindly present a bouquet to our chief guest, Sri S. Jaishankar Garu.
Thank you very much, sir. May I now request Mr. Vinay Krishna, a student from ISB, to present a floral bouquet to Sri G. Kishan Reddy Garu. Please put your hands together. And now, may I request Sri Narasimha Sharma Garu, Senior Advocate, to present a bouquet to R. Subhash Reddy Garu, former Judge, Supreme Court. Please put your hands together to welcome them with a floral bouquet. And now, may I request Mr. Chaturvedi Garu to present a bouquet to N. Ramchandra Rao Garu, the convener of this event and also National Thinkers Forum. Please put your hands together. Thank you very much to everyone.
So before we proceed, there were some organizations who have given us logistic support for this event to make it successful. So one is the JCI, and I request the representative of JCI, Mr. Vidhu Gupta, Ramesh Dadigal, Abhinay Brahmacha, Chaturvedi, and others to kindly present the bouquet and shawls and to the chief guest. On behalf of the JCI, now I request Sri Vijay Kumar Garu and Mr. Vallishwar Garu, both are connected with the publishing houses. Mr. MSco Vijay Kumar Garu, who is known for publishing many books, even Sri Modi's Pariksha Pe Charcha was translated to Telugu and was published by MSco Publishers. I request them to kindly offer the books in Telugu, Modi 2.0. Mr. Vallishwar Rao Garu. This book, Modi 2.0, is now published in Telugu, and publishers are very much before us, Mr. Vijay Kumar, MSco Publishers, and man behind these translations, Mr. Vallishwar Rao, is a senior journalist. As the External Affairs Minister, the regional passport office is connected with the ministry. So therefore, with the waste to energy, Mr. Balaya, the regional passport officer, their office have decided to present a photograph which is a work of waste management issue. Yes. As I see a lot of students who are here, many of them are aspiring for civil services. So one of them wanted to, on behalf of the aspirants of civil services, Sharanya, please kindly present a bouquet on behalf of all the. You all need blessings of great man like Sri Singh. Mr. Surya Prakash, one Gayatri Samaj, I would like to ask him to present one bouquet. And we close this bouquet presentation program. We are going ahead with the main program now. Before we start this program, this is the last bouquet event to see. Friends, you all know that today India has taken the chair of G20, a nation, a group of nations coming together for economic cooperation and for many other activities among themselves. And this is, in fact, a proud moment for the country, because we are presiding over countries who are developing countries, developed countries, and fast-growing economies in the world, including the Russia, China, US, European Union, and many other countries. And similarly, we are also proud that today India is also the fastest growing economy in the world, and we are the 5th largest, fastest growing economy in the world right now. I do not take much time, but I would like to, I am provoked to say 2 or 3 just incidents. I was in Israel a few years back to attend an international conference, where I have seen that several delegates from different countries were trying to make India accused in many of the cases, including that of terrorism. The many countries who attended the conference were supporting Pakistan then, and India was almost isolated, But after Modi ji came, we are all seeing that today we have isolated Pakistan. Today India is very much needed in international affairs. Without India, I think today the world cannot take any decisions. Even the recent war, Russia and Ukraine, we are observing the role of India in international politics has increased, and everyone is now recognizing India as a major power and major country to be a very important country in international affairs. I think, friends, this is nothing but a hard work of Mr. Modi ji and his ministers like Subramanian Jaishankar. The credit goes to them. In spite of having the worst period in the country, in the world, COVID, today we are able to show light to the entire world. Today we have given vaccines to many countries. Many countries we are supporting them in many ways. Earlier we were going with begging bowls, but today India is not in that situation. For the past 8 years and for the past 2-3 years, India has gained a very important role in the international politics. I don't go much into the issues because there are other speakers who are going to speak. But we should not forget that. Today, a time was there when people used to go abroad from this country and when people used to call it brain drain. But today, it is a matter of pride for India. The entire world wants Indian technocrats, Indian software engineers, Indian people. And it's a matter of pride. Today we are power not only in India, but outside the country also. In many countries, we are holding important positions. And that is the greatness of people. Because for Indians, democracy, demography, and diligence are in our DNA. So therefore, wherever we go, we try to raise the flag of our nation. And we feel proud that today we have a Prime Minister like Mr. Narendra Modi, and we have an external affairs minister like Subramanian Jaishankar who are with us. And whatever may be the worst situation come in, India is safe in their hands. That's what I feel. Now, with these few words, now I request Justice Subhash Reddy Garu to kindly deliver. Before that, I request Swati to introduce our judge. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Justice Ramayagari Subhash Reddy Garu was born on January 5th, 1957. He graduated from Andhra Vidyalaya College, Hyderabad, and obtained his law degree from the University College of Law, Osmania University, Hyderabad. Justice Reddy enrolled as an advocate in the Bar Council of Andhra Pradesh on October 30th, 1980. As an advocate, he joined the chambers of Sri Justice B. Subhashan Reddy Garu. He practiced for 22 years and specialized in constitutional law. He was standing counsel for premier institutions like SV University and Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University. On 2nd December 2002, Justice Reddy was elevated as an additional judge of the Andhra Pradesh High Court and a permanent judge of the Andhra Pradesh High Court on 24th June 2004. He was elevated as Chief Justice of the High Court of Gujarat on 13th February 2016 and was elevated as Judge of the Supreme Court of India on 2nd November 2018. Justice R. Subhash Reddy Garu is the first judge from the separate state of Telangana to be elevated to the Supreme Court of India. As a High Court judge, Chief Justice and Supreme Court judge, he created a special niche for himself amongst the legal fraternity of the nation with his landmark judgments. He is known for striking a fine balance between constitutional rights and national interests. To illustrate the point, I wish to quote from one of his judgments. In Foundation for Media Professionals versus UT and Jammu Kashmir, 2020, Justice Reddy observes, national security concerns and human rights must be reasonably and defensibly adjusted with one another, in line with the constitutional principles. While it might be desirable and convenient to have better internet in the present circumstances, wherein there is a worldwide pandemic and a national lockdown. However, the fact that outside forces are trying to infiltrate the borders and destabilize the integrity of the nation, as well as cause incidents resulting in the death of innocent citizens and security forces every day cannot be ignored. Now I request Justice R. Subhash Reddy Garu to please give his message. Thank you.
Honorable Ministers, Justice Jaishankar ji, Justice Kishan Reddy ji, my friend, Senior Advocate Mr. Ramchandra Rao, galaxy of thinkers here, media friends, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I thank the members of the forum for giving this opportunity. When Mr. Ramchandra Rao called me, he said, first he said, it's a non-political organization, you can come. I thought it's a good time to two young dynamic ministers who are in the limelight to take our country forward, to hear them. That's how I am here today. Friends, you all know we are on the topic of G20 Presidency. You all know how it started. in 1999, this started. 19 countries and European Union, when Asian countries were facing economic crisis, this was made forum for the finance ministers and the governors of the central bank to discuss economic issues. Later, in 2007, this global economic recession has come. This is upgraded, and the state heads were representing, and it has become one of the most important organizations in the country for the reason it represents 85% of the global GDP, 75% of the trade in the world, and 2/3 of the world's population. So this how strong the policies of this organization is. It has become very relevant for the development of these countries and to maintain good relation and give and take. This morning only I read the message of Honorable Prime Minister on 1st of December when our presidency started. He says our theme should be to sense to oneness, one earth, one family, one future. Precisely, he says, is nothing but it is a Vasudeva Kutumbam, which backs to our nothing again to the Sanskrit era in Mahashabdam. This is a forum is for mainly focusing humanity. This is a forum which we have to keep away our geopolitical tensions and maintain good relations in all other aspects by sharing what we need and what we have to give. You all know how this country has prospered in the last 10 years, how we are going in a direction for digitalization, and this country has become definitely is a destination for wellness, destination for tourism. Honorable Minister is here, and destination for so many important aspects which we can share with the other countries in the needy situations. Because recent pandemic has shown how these relations will help humanity. What is oneness? Is a joint family, give and take. What we need, we have to take. What is required to others, we have to give. That is oneness. That is the theme of this concept of this G20. And here are the prominent ministers who are the part of decision-making process for our G20 presidency, what we have to do, and what should be our roadmap for this. They are the better persons to share with you. I too want to hear from them only. That is the reason I am here today. And once again, thank the organizers for giving this opportunity, because just now, Honorable Minister as was saying this is the time we have to talk very little and give time to answer the several queries from the audience. That's how I don't want to take much time, and I wish all the best for this organization to strengthen our presidencyship and to share our thoughts. Not that merely one mind is one mind, 2 minds are 2 minds, 100 minds are 100 minds. And everybody should think of, this is a think tank for support our presidencyship in this period. We have the time up to now 30th November. We have to share, we have to discuss, we have to inputs, we have to give to the government so that our ministers will take to the ultimate authority, so that we will be showing the roadmap for success of this G20 presidencyship. Thinking all the best and In thanking the organizers for giving the opportunity, I take the leave. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Before Mr. Kishan Reddy speaks, I would request one of our delegates to kindly introduce Mr. Kishan Reddy, our Honorable Union Minister. 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, sir. And may I now request Ms. Soumya to introduce Shri G. Kishan Reddy Garu, Honorable Minister of Culture, Tourism and Development, Northeastern Region.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I take the privilege to introduce Shri Kishan Garu Reddy. So, Kishan Garu Reddy is a household name in the whole of Telangana, especially in the twin cities of Hyderabad and Secunderabad, and does not need an introduction, but for the sake of propriety, here is a brief introduction. Shri G. Kishan Reddy is a Member of Parliament from the Secunderabad Lok Sabha constituency. He is currently the Union Minister of Culture, Tourism and the Development of Northeastern Region. Prior to this elevation as a Cabinet Minister in July 2021, Shri Kishan Reddy served as a Minister of State for Home Affairs. Before his stint as a Member of Parliament, Shri G. Kishan Reddy was a 3-time member for the Legislative Assembly from Himatnagar and Ambarpet constituency in Hyderabad from between 2004 and 2018. Inspired by social reformer leaders Jayaprakash Narayan and Swami Vivekananda, serving the common man has been his mission for life. Awarded as a child-friendly legislator by UNICEF during his tenure as an MLA, he has been an inspiration for inspiring young leaders and politicians. He started his political career as a Yuva Karyayatta in Janata Party and joined BJP on its inception in the year 1980. His political journey from being the president of BGYM to the first BJP state president for the newly formed Telangana state is a testimony to what one can achieve through sheer determination and hard work. With a strong conviction in the nation's first ideology, Shri Kishan Reddy has represented India and its youth leadership in various fora and was an international chairman of the World Youth Conference Against Tourism. Now I welcome Dr. Shri G. Kishan Reddy to address the crowd. Thank you, sir.
Good evening to all. Honorable Union Minister, External Affairs, the dynamic Sri Subramanyam Jayashankarji, former Justice of Supreme Court, Sri Subhash Reddy Garu, my friend, Senior Advocate, former Legislative Council, Sri Ramchandra Garu, ఇంకా వేదిక ముందు చాలా మంది వివిధ రంగాల నుంచి ప్రముఖులైనటువంటి పెద్దలందరూ వచ్చారు. అదేవిధంగా మీడియా ఫ్రెండ్స్ అందరికీ హృదయపూర్వకమైనటువంటి స్వాగతం పలుకుతా ఉన్నాను. ఈరోజు G20కి సంబంధించి ఎవరితోనైనా క్లారిటీతో మనం అండర్స్టాండింగ్ కావాలి అంటే అది సరిగ్గా మరి శ్రీ సుబ్రహ్మణ్యం జయశంకర్ గారితో మనకు అర్థమవుతుంది. చాలామంది దేశంలో కొంతమంది దేశం గురించి, సమాజం గురించి, ఫారెన్ పాలసీ గురించి, టూరిజం గురించి, ఇండియా కల్చర్ గురించి తెలియనటువంటి వాళ్ళు చాలామంది G20 ఏముంది, ఇంత పెద్ద ఎత్తున చేయాలా అనేటువంటి మరి అర్థం కాకుండా మాట్లాడుతున్నారో, అర్థమై కూడా అర్థం తెలవనట్టు మాట్లాడుతున్నారో తెలియదు. కానీ మనలాంటి కంట్రీకి ఈరోజు డెవలపింగ్ కంట్రీకి ఇలాంటి సమావేశాలు ఎంతో ముఖ్యమైనటువంటి విషయాన్ని మనకు ఈరోజు జయశంకర్ గారి సందేశం ద్వారా మనం వినబోతా ఉన్నాం. మీకు అందరికీ తెలుసు, నరేంద్ర మోడీ గారు ప్రధానమంత్రి అయిన తర్వాత ఒక రంగం కాదు, ఏ రంగానికి ఆ రంగానికి మీరు విశ్లేషణ చేసి చూస్తే అది ఆర్థిక పరిస్థితి కావచ్చు, ఫారెన్ పాలసీ కావచ్చు, ల్యాండ్ ఆర్డర్ కావచ్చు, అగ్రికల్చర్ సెక్టార్ కావచ్చు, ఇన్ఫ్రాస్ట్రక్చర్ కావచ్చు, కనెక్టివిటీ కావచ్చు, ఏ కోణాన్ని తీసుకున్నా మీరు అన్ని రంగాలలో కూడా ఈరోజు నరేంద్ర మోడీ గారి మార్కు దేశానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి ఒక మరి అస్తిత్వం మనకు అందులో కనిపిస్తుంది. నేషనల్ హైవేస్ ఆ రోజు అటల్ బిహారీ వాజ్పేయి గారు ప్రారంభిస్తే 70,000 కోట్లతో ఏ రకంగా వాజ్పేయి గారు ఎక్కడి నుంచి డబ్బు తెస్తారన్నారు. మళ్ళీ 10 years మధ్యలో ఆగిపోయింది అనుకోండి. మళ్ళీ ఈరోజు నేషనల్ హైవేస్, నేను 1993లో అమెరికా పోయినప్పుడు ఇలాంటి రోడ్లు మా దేశంలో వస్తాయా అనుకున్నాను. ఎప్పుడు వస్తాయి అనుకున్నామని. ఈరోజు నేను నార్త్ ఈస్ట్ నుంచి మినిస్టర్గా ఉన్నాను. నార్త్ ఈస్ట్ ఎవ్రీ స్టేట్ క్యాపిటల్ we connected with national highways. Northeast to every state capital we are going to connected with the railway connectivity. ఒకటి కాదు, రెండు కాదు, ఈ రకంగా దేశంలో ఈరోజు మనం హైదరాబాద్ నుంచి మీరు నాగపూర్కి వెళ్ళాలన్నా, హైదరాబాద్ నుంచి బాంబే రోడ్డుకి వెళ్ళాలన్నా, హైదరాబాద్ నుంచి మన కర్నూలు రోడ్డుకి వెళ్ళాలన్నా, హైదరాబాద్ నుంచి విజయవాడ రోడ్డుకి వెళ్ళాలన్నా, మీరు ఏ రోడ్డు తీసుకున్నా అద్భుతమైనటువంటి నేషనల్ హైవేస్ దేశంలో అన్ని ప్రాంతాలలో, గ్రీన్ఫీల్డ్ హైవేస్, ఎక్స్ప్రెస్ హైవేస్. ఒక ఉదాహరణ మాత్రమే చెప్పాను. మీరు ఈ రకంగా 5G, ఈరోజు 5G చూస్తే ప్రపంచంలో అత్యధికమైనటువంటి తక్కువ కాస్ట్తో అందుబాటులో ఉన్నటువంటి 5G ఎక్కడుందంటే అది ఇండియాలో ఉంది. డెవలప్డ్ కంట్రీస్ మేము చాలా అభివృద్ధి చెందినటువంటి దేశాల కంటే చాలా తక్కువ రేటులో ఈరోజు 5G మన దేశంలో అందుబాటులో ఉంది. అత్యధికమైనటువంటి సెల్ ఫోన్లు వాడుతున్నటువంటి దేశం ఏదంటే ఈరోజు ఇండియా, చైనా తర్వాత మనం చూస్తాం. ఈ రకంగా ఒక రంగం కాదు, ఈరోజు ఫారెన్ పాలసీ, అద్భుతమైనటువంటి ఫారెన్ పాలసీ, దానికి జయశంకర్ గారి నేతృత్వంలో ఏ రకంగా మనము నరేంద్ర మోడీ గారి యొక్క మార్గదర్శనంలో ఏ రకంగా పనిచేసామో మనకు తెలుసు. ఒక్క ఉదాహరణ చెప్పి నేను ముగిస్తాను. ఉక్రెయిన్, నాకు తెలిసినంత వరకు యుద్ధాలు హోరాహోరీ పోరాటం జరుగుతున్నప్పుడు 2 దేశాలను కూడా ఆ రోజు శ్రీకృష్ణుడు ఆపాడు అప్పుడు. కానీ ఈరోజు 2 దేశాలను కూడా విమానాలు, ట్యాంక్స్, టోటల్గా AK-47లు, బాంబులు అన్నీ ఆపేసి మన ఇండియన్స్ అందరిని కూడా మనం ఒక్కరమే కాదు, సుమారు 20 దేశాలకు సంబంధించిన వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా ట్రైకలర్ ఫ్లాగ్స్ పెట్టుకొని, వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా ఉక్రెయిన్ నుంచి సుమారు 22,500 మంది విద్యార్థులు, మన తెలుగు విద్యార్థులు కూడా చాలా మంది ఉన్నారు, వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా బయటికి తీసుకొచ్చినటువంటి ప్రపంచమంతా నివ్వెరపడే విధంగా ఈరోజు అద్భుతమైనటువంటి మరి విదేశీ పాలసీని భారతదేశం నరేంద్ర మోడీ గారి నేతృత్వంలో అవలంబిస్తా ఉన్నాం. అదొక్కటే కాదు, దేశాన్ని గౌరవాన్ని ఏ రకంగా పెంచేది. పాకిస్తాన్ వాళ్ళు చంపేవాళ్ళు, మేము చచ్చేవాళ్ళం, మా బతికింతే అనేటువంటి పరిస్థితి భారతదేశం ఉండింది. ఎక్కడ చూసినా బాంబు పేలుళ్ళు, RDXలు, ISI యాక్టివిటీ, మన గోకుల్ చాట్ బండార్, లుంబిని పార్క్, లేకపోతే దిల్సుఖ్ నగర్ బస్ డిపో, లేకపోతే బాంబేలో 7 రైళ్లలో ఒకటేసారి ఏం చేసేవాళ్ళం మనం? సంతాపం ప్రకటించేవాళ్ళం, లేకపోతే సాయంకాలం టైము క్యాండిల్ మార్చ్ చేసేవాళ్ళం. మాలాంటి సంస్థలు ఏవైనా చిన్న ఉంటే మేము పాకిస్తాన్ ఫ్లాగ్ తగలబెట్టేవాళ్ళం, 2 రోజుల తర్వాత మర్చిపోయేవాళ్ళం. ఆ రకంగా పాకిస్తాన్ వాళ్ళు చంపేవాళ్ళు, మనం చచ్చేవాళ్ళం. ఇది మా కర్మ అనేటువంటి ఆలోచనతోటే ఉన్నటువంటి పరిస్థితుల్లో నిద్రలో ఉన్నటువంటి మన ఉగ్రవాదులు నిద్రలో ఉన్నటువంటి మన సైనికులను పఠాన్ కోట్ దగ్గర చంపి వెళ్తే ఆ రోజు నరేంద్ర మోడీ గారి నాయకత్వంలో పెద్దలందరూ కూర్చొని ఆలోచించి మన సైనికులకు, మన సెక్యూరిటీ ఫోర్సెస్కు ఫ్రీ హ్యాండ్ ఇచ్చి మీరు ఏం చేస్తారో చేయండి, ఫ్రీడమ్ ఇస్తా ఉన్నాం, కానీ మన సైనికులను చంపినటువంటి ఆ ఉగ్రవాదులను తుదముట్టించాలని చెప్పినప్పుడు మనము సెటిలైట్ ద్వారా వాళ్ళు ఎక్కడి నుంచి వచ్చారు, ఎవరు వచ్చారు, ఎప్పుడు చంపారు, ఎక్కడున్నారు, ఇప్పుడు వెళ్ళి ఏ క్యాంపస్లో ఉన్నారు, సెటిలైట్ ద్వారా కనుక్కొని మరి ఆ ఉగ్రవాదులను మట్టిపెట్టి మీరు చంపితే మేము చచ్చేవాళ్ళం కాదు, మీరు ఒక ప్రాణం తీస్తే మేము 10 ప్రాణాలు మా దేశం కోసం తీస్తామని ప్రపంచానికి మన గొప్పతనాన్ని చాటి చెప్పినటువంటి అద్భుతమైనటువంటి దేశ గౌరవానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి మరి పాలసీలు తీసుకోవడం జరిగింది. ఈ రకంగా ఏ రంగంలో తీసుకున్నా, మీరు ఇంతకుముందు చెప్పినట్టు కనెక్టివిటీ తీసుకున్నా, లేకపోతే అగ్రికల్చర్ విధానం తీసుకున్నా, లేకపోతే ఈరోజు దేశ గౌరవానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి అనేక విషయాలలో నరేంద్ర మోడీ గారి నాయకత్వంలో అద్భుతమైనటువంటి ప్రగతి సాధిస్తున్నాం. అందులో భాగంగా ఈరోజు G20, మీకు ఒక్క విషయం చెప్తాను. G20 ఇంతకుముందు చాలా దేశాల్లో జరిగింది. ఇంతకుముందు ఇండోనేషియాలో జరిగింది. ఆ ఇండోనేషియాలో జరిగినటువంటి అన్ని సమావేశాలు కూడా ఆ దేశ రాజధాని బాలిలో మాత్రమే జరిగాయి. చిన్న ఉదాహరణ చెప్పి నేను ముగిస్తాను. అన్ని సమావేశాలు కూడా ఆ రాష్ట్రధాని బాలిలో జరిగాయి. అంతకుముందు జరిగినటువంటి సమావేశాలు కూడా స్టేట్ క్యాపిటల్, నేషనల్ క్యాపిటల్లోనే జరిగాయి. కానీ ఈరోజు మన నరేంద్ర మోడీ గారు కానీ జయశంకర్ గారి ఆలోచన ఢిల్లీలో కాదు జరపాల్సింది, ఢిల్లీలో కూడా జరగాలి, కానీ దేశంలో అన్ని ముఖ్యమైన నగరాల్లో జరగాలని నిర్ణయించారు. ఇటీవల టూరిజం సంబంధించినటువంటి ఫస్ట్ మీటింగు కచ్లో జరిగితే మేము ఎయిర్పోర్ట్ నుంచి బయలుదేరి కచ్కి వెళ్ళేంత వరకు కూడా, భుజు ఎయిర్పోర్ట్ నుంచి కచ్కి వెళ్ళేంత వరకు కూడా దారి పొడుగున గ్రామాలని తెరలొచ్చి మొత్తం వస్తున్నటువంటి G20కి సంబంధించిన డెలిగేట్స్ బస్సెస్ ఏవైతే ఉంటాయో ఆ బస్సుకు స్వాగతం పలుకుతూ గ్రామీణ ప్రజలందరూ కూడా అద్భుతంగా డ్యాన్సులతో మరి ఆ రోజు ఇటీవల జరిగినటువంటి సమావేశాలు ఒక దగ్గర కాదు, దేశంలో ఎక్కడ జరిగినా కూడా. అందుకే 56 నగరాలలో 250 సమావేశాలు ఈ యొక్క G20 కంట్రీలో సంబంధించినటువంటి సమావేశాలు జరుగుతూ ఉన్నాయి. G20 కంట్రీకి సంబంధించిన డీటెయిల్స్ అని వారు చెప్తారు. ఒకటే, ఇందులో మన యొక్క సంస్కృతి, మన యొక్క పర్యాటక కేంద్రాల, మన యొక్క జీవన విధానము, మన తినే తిండి, మన భాష, మన కల్చరు ఏ రకంగా ఈరోజు ప్రపంచ దేశాలకు ఈరోజు, ఎందుకంటే G20 కంట్రీకి సంబంధించినటువంటి ఇంపార్టెన్స్ సుభాష్ రెడ్డి గారు చెప్పారు. నేను మళ్ళీ దానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి డీటెయిల్ చెప్పదలుచుకోలేదు. ప్రపంచాన్ని శాసించేటువంటి దేశాలు ఏవైనా ఉన్నాయంటే అవి G20 కంట్రీకి సంబంధించినటువంటి సమావేశాలు. ఆ G20 కంట్రీకి సంబంధించినటువంటి ఒక రంగం కాదు, అది టూరిజం కానీ, అది కల్చర్ కానీ, ఆర్థిక శాస్త్రవేత్తలు కానీ, లేకపోతే ఆర్థికవేత్తలు కానీ, లేక అన్ని రంగాలకు సంబంధించినటువంటి యూత్ లీడర్స్ కానీ, సెక్యూరిటీకి సంబంధించిన లీడర్స్ కానీ, G20కి సంబంధించినటువంటి ఈ రకంగా 250 రకాల సమావేశం, 250 ఇండస్ట్రియలిస్ట్ నుంచి మొదలు పెడితే ఉమెన్ ఎంపవర్మెంట్ నుంచి, యూత్ ఎంపవర్మెంట్ నుంచి, విలేజ్ ఎంపవర్మెంట్ నుంచి, అగ్రికల్చర్, అన్ని రకాలుగా 250 రకాల సమావేశాలు ఇండియాలో డిసెంబర్ నుంచి 22 నుంచి డిసెంబర్ 2023 వరకు ఒక ఇయర్ పాటు సమావేశాలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. ఈ సమావేశాలన్నీ కూడా 56 నగరాలలో జరగబోతా ఉన్నాయి. ఈ 56 నగరాల్లో జరిగినటువంటి సమావేశాల ద్వారా సుమారు చాలా వేలాది మంది ఫారిన్ డెలిగేట్స్ వస్తారు. ఇంపార్టెంట్ క్రీమ్ ఆఫ్ ది వరల్డ్ G20 కంట్రీకి సంబంధించినటువంటి సమావేశాలలో ఇండియాకి రాబోతున్నారు. వచ్చినప్పుడు మన దేశానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి మరి ఎవరైతే ఈ సమావేశాలకు వస్తారో ఆ డెలిగేట్స్ తిరిగి ఆ సమావేశాలకు నుంచి వాళ్ళ దేశాలకు వెళ్ళినప్పుడు, వాళ్ళ నగరాలకు వెళ్ళినప్పుడు, వాళ్ళ ఇంటికి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు వాళ్ళందరూ కూడా ఇండియా అంబాసిడర్స్గా మారిపోయి భారతదేశంలో మేము వెళ్ళినప్పుడు అద్భుతమైనటువంటి స్వాగతం ఇచ్చారు, అద్భుతమైనటువంటి ఆతిథ్యం ఇచ్చారు, అద్భుతమైనటువంటి నగరం అది, అద్భుతమైనటువంటి కల్చర్ వాళ్ళది, అద్భుతమైనటువంటి పర్యాటక కేంద్రాలు ఉన్నాయి. ప్రపంచంలో ఏ దేశంలో లేనటువంటి మరి అతి ప్రాచీనమైనటువంటి కళా సంపద ఎక్కడుందంటే అది భారతదేశంలో ఉందని ఈ దేశానికి వచ్చేటువంటి ప్రతి టూరిస్టు, ఈ దేశానికి వచ్చినటువంటి ప్రతి డెలిగేటు భారతీయ అంబాసిడర్గా వాళ్ళ దేశాలలో వెళ్ళి మన దేశం గురించి ప్రచారం చేయాలనేటువంటి లక్ష్యము ఈరోజు నరేంద్ర మోడీ గారు ఒక వేసేటువంటి ప్రతి అడుగు, మాట్లాడేటువంటి ప్రతి మాట వెనుక ఎన్నో రకాలుగా ఆలోచన చేసి ఆయన ముందుకెళ్తూ ఉంటాడు. కాబట్టి G20 కంట్రీస్ సంబంధించి కూడా ఈరోజు 56 నగరాలు అద్భుతంగా అలంకారం చేస్తూ ఉన్నారు. కొన్ని నగరాలు చేయడం లేదు, అది వేరే విషయం అనుకోండి. మనం అన్నీ మీకు తెలియదు కాబట్టి నేను అందుకు చెప్తున్నాను. అద్భుతమైనటువంటి అలంకారం చేస్తూ ఉన్నారు, చాలా అద్భుతంగా జరుగుతూ ఉన్నాయి, ప్రజలందరూ పాల్గొంటున్నారు. ఏ ప్రాంతానికి వెళ్తే ఆ ప్రాంతానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి సాంస్కృతిక కార్యక్రమం, ఏ ప్రాంతానికి వెళ్తే ఏ నగరానికి వెళ్తే ఆ నగరానికి సంబంధించినటువంటి ఆహారము, ఎక్కడ వెళ్తే అక్కడ వేషం. మేము గుజరాత్కి వెళ్తే అనేక రకాలుగా గ్రామీణ ప్రజలు ఎవరైతే సెల్ఫ్ హెల్ప్ గ్రూప్స్ వస్తువులు బట్టలు తయారు చేస్తారో వాళ్ళు తెచ్చి డెలిగేట్స్ ఇవ్వడం, సెల్ఫ్ హెల్ప్ గ్రూప్కి సంబంధించినటువంటి ఐటమ్స్ ప్రొడక్ట్స్ తయారు చేస్తారో వాళ్ళు వచ్చి వాలంటరీ వాళ్ళకి ఇవ్వడం. వాళ్ళు ఏ రకంగా తన్మయం పొందుతున్నారో ఆ డెలిగేట్స్ అర్థం కానటువంటి పరిస్థితి. అద్భుతంగా ఆ రకంగా వాళ్ళందరినీ కూడా మనం కల్టివేట్ చేసి మన దేశాన్ని యొక్క సంబంధించినటువంటి గొప్పతనాన్ని వాళ్ళ ద్వారా ప్రపంచానికి చాటేటువంటి ప్రయత్నం చేస్తూ ఉన్నాము. ఇది రానున్న రోజుల్లో భారతదేశానికి నాకు తెలిసినంత వరకు 1 సంవత్సరం పాటు ఫారెన్ డెలిగేట్స్తో సమావేశాలు జరగడము ప్రపంచంలో మరి భారతదేశానికి వస్తున్నటువంటి గొప్ప ఘన విజయం అని చెప్పి ఈ సందర్భంగా భావిస్తూ నేను సెలవు తీసుకుంటున్నాను. జై హింద్.
సభాముఖంగా కిషన్ రెడ్డి గారికి ధన్యవాదాలు. Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful and informative talk. We are really overwhelmed with understanding how India's tourism has gone to the next level under the leadership of Narendra Modi ji and you too. And now, may I request Ms. Swati Satyabama garu to present a patriotic song.
Thank you. Vandana माँ तुझे वंदना, हम करें तेरी आराधना, शान तेरी बढ़ाए, मान तेरा बढ़े, लो हमारा सलाम, पुण्य भूमि कर्म भूमि भारत माता। वंदना माँ तुझे वंदना, हम करें तेरी आराधना, मानवता का तू ही रूप है विश्व में, एकता का सही रूप दिखलाए, मानवता का तू ही रूप है विश्व में, एकता का सही रूप दिखलाए, भिन्न धर्मों का संगम मेरा भारत महान, हाँ इशारा मोहब्बत ये है भारत महान, हम करेंगे तन को मन को अर्पण, माननीय वंदनीय भारत माता। वंदनम जननी कभिवंदनम, पलुकुदाम धरणि जनुलंदरम, प्रणव मंत्रानिके प्राणमी भारतम, जगति सर्वानिके वेदनाद जीवधार चिलिकिन देशम. Thank you.
Thank you. So before we proceed with our chief guest speech, I would like to inform sir that today in our gathering there are vice chancellors, serving vice chancellors, retired defense personnel, and then we have former DGPs, Mr. Arvind Rao, Mr. Jachandra ji, and so many other. Mr. Hanuman Chaudhary ji, our senior most member of the Pragya Bharati is also here. And then we have Vice Chancellor Mr. Suresh here, Tirupati Rao. The students, there are many bureaucrats, chartered accountants, lawyers and all. So they have come to hear you, sir, on this subject. I thank one and all for having come here for this event. And I would like to acknowledge the cooperation of iFocus, Javasdev Sharma, whose cooperation was there for giving us the logistic support for this program. Now I request Vyoma to kindly introduce the chief guest.
And now I would like to introduce the man of the moment, the keynote speaker for today's program, none other than Dr. S. Jaishankar Garu, External Affairs Minister, India. And now, before I proceed and formally introduce, I think I would use 2 adjectives that are absolutely apt, and sir is an epitome of that would be diplomacy and assertive in putting India's voice across in any of the meetings that he had been any time. I'm sure he definitely needs no introduction because we had heard him several times, but yet let me take this privilege, honor to really introduce this esteemed keynote speaker for today, Dr. S. Jaishankar Garu. Dr. S. Jaishankar Garu is India's External Affairs Minister since May 30, 2019. He is a member of the Upper House, Rajya Sabha of India's Parliament from the state of Gujarat. He was Foreign Secretary from 2015 up till 18, Ambassador to United States 2013 up till 15, China 2009 up till 2013, Singapore 2007 up till 2009, and Czech Republic 2000 to 2004. Sir has also served in other diplomatic assignments in embassies in Moscow, Colombo, Budapest, and Tokyo, as well as in the Ministry of External Affairs and the President's Secretariat. He was also the President, Global Corporate Affairs at Tata Sons Private Limited from May 2018. Dr. S. Jaishankar Garu is a graduate of St. Stephen's College at the University of Delhi. He has a Master's in Political Science and an MPhil and PhD in International Relations from Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. He is a recipient of the Padma Shri Award in 2019 and has written a widely acclaimed best-selling book, The India Way, Strategies for an Uncertain World, which was published in 2020. May I now request Sir to definitely deliver a talk and a message to us to really make us all think at the end of his speech. Thank you so much, sir. We all welcome you. May I request all of you to put your hands together.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My ministerial colleague, Sri Kishan Reddy ji, Justice Subhash Reddy ji, Sri N. Ramachandra Rao ji, friends of the media, all the distinguished personalities gathered here. I'm really extremely happy today that I have the opportunity to come here, meet all of you, talk about something which is very important, which is very topical, and which Hyderabad has a very deep connection because I think 6 G20 events will be held here during the course of the year. Now, before I come to G20, I'm also very happy to be associated with the release of this book. And there's a reason. Actually, there are many reasons. One, I have a chapter. So that's a very good reason. I recommend you read it. But I must say there are some better chapters in the book. When this book came out, and I'm really very happy that you have taken the initiative to bring out a Telugu translation. Many of us have traveled around India, spoken about our Prime Minister using this book. And I hope when you all read it, I recommend 2 chapters other than my own. One is actually a very interesting piece written by our Home Minister, Amit Bhai Shah, which actually brings out Prime Minister Modi's political acumen, his thinking, his strategic vision. It's a very, very interesting chapter. As someone who spent a long period, along with him in politics. In fact, I think we are, the only 2 politicians who have written in this book. The other chapter, and I recommend it particularly for the younger people in the audience, please read the chapter of P.V. Sindhu. Read the chapter of P.V. Sindhu because it gives a young person's perspective of our Prime Minister. That what is it in him which appeals to the youth of this country. So I thought before I come to the subject, let me address this issue. Now, about the G20. The importance of the G20, I think both Justice Reddy and Kishan Reddy ji mentioned. Today, it accounts, these 20 countries account for 85% of the GDP of the world, 65% of the population of the world, 75% of the trade of the world. But in reality, the importance of the G20 is much more than that. It is much more than that because today in the world, it is actually the premier forum to set the directions in which the world should go. Because the remit, the responsibility, the job of the G20 is actually to look at the challenges to economic development, to growth, to find solutions, to look at new areas which are coming up, which are challenges to the world, to find solutions for them. And these, the regular meeting, because the G20 meets every year, this regular meeting actually for the last, from 2008, because it became at the level of Prime Minister President then, this has been an increasingly important forum. Now, this forum has, of course, a meeting at the President Prime Minister level, which will happen in September. There are 15 ministerial tracks. The foreign ministers is one, finance ministers is very important. There are many other tracks. And again, just as an example, yesterday in Bengaluru, the finance ministers and the central bank governors track met. And the focus of the discussion was on cryptocurrency, was on debt, how to deal with debt, because increasingly countries today, for reasons which I will explain, are going into debt, and how to reform multilateral development institutions and banks. So I mention this because it shows to you how relevant it is, how important it is, how topical it is, that the new issues which are coming up, but the old problems which also have to be addressed, all these today are being dealt with by the G20. Now, we took over the presidency of the G20 on 1st December last year. And I would say this, it's a particularly important moment to take over the presidency. It's a particularly responsible moment. Why? Because the world today needs direction, world needs leadership, world needs a strategy, a collective strategy, as never before. And there are very, very good reasons for that. The global situation, as we take up the G20, is today perhaps more concerning than it has been for a very, very long time. There are 4 big issues in the world. One, all of us are familiar with the impact of the COVID pandemic. Now, we all know the COVID pandemic as something which came from some other country. It has affected all of us. I think there is nobody in the room who would not have directly experienced, or family member or friends. Many of us have suffered losses. But please think about the impact of the COVID on the global economy. What happened with COVID was, the entire world discovered that we are all depending on one country, one region, to supply many of the essential goods for the world. That in the name of globalization, we actually created a very over-centralized economic system, and this has, when it breaks down, has created very, very serious problems. So the world today is looking for, it's like in business. Nobody in business, even if you're a small business, nobody depends on a single supplier, because God forbid something happens. But what happened to the world? The world actually, somewhere in all the propaganda and the myth and the delusion and the attractiveness of globalization, everybody went in one direction. And what has today happened is, there is a search across the world for more suppliers, for reliable suppliers, for multiple suppliers. And this is today a very big issue which is affecting the global economy. A related issue, because the COVID put a lot of stress on the economies of different countries. We have seen in our own region, every one of our neighbors is having some difficulty, some more severe, some less severe. Now, the debt issue has become a very serious issue. That there are today more than 75 countries in the world who are having serious problems meeting their debt obligations. But you can't solve the debt issue if you do not reform the financial system. So that goes to the next area. And in all of this, what is security? You know, we think in terms of when we say security, we say, okay, economic security is important. But economic security is not only the state of your finances. You know, when COVID happened and we discovered that in fact a lot of things we had to import from abroad. There was a period when even masks, when PPEs, when ventilators, when intermediates and basics for base materials for even pharmaceuticals, all these were coming from abroad. Today, I think the world has learnt a lesson that security means not only physical security, not only economic security, it also means health security, it means food security. So we today have to find a way of de-risking the global economy. The way we would de-risk a sector, the way we would de-risk a business. And that is a very major debate and I would say a very major concern of what the G20 would be looking at. The second concern is, of course, from Ukraine conflict. You know, the Ukraine conflict is already something which is hugely damaging because in this era, the destruction, the casualties, all of you have seen pictures of it. But again, look at the bigger consequences of the Ukraine conflict. As a result, oil prices have doubled, food prices have gone up, fertilizer has become not only more expensive, but sometimes even difficult for many countries to get. At least in our country, Modi government has ensured fertilizer prices have not gone up. Modi government has tried to cushion the consumer as much as possible, even from petrol price increases. And we have tried to see how to keep inflation down. But the reality is many other countries, many other governments are not able to do this. So if you go around the world and ask people, what is your big concern today? Why are you worried about Ukraine? They will say, yes, we are against the war. But they will also say, we have issues with food, we have issues with fertilizer, we have issues with fuel, their cost, and this is also something the G20 has to look at. A third issue, of course, predates this. These are the big global issues of our times. Climate change. You know, for many years we keep hearing that we must do more on climate. We agree, we must all do more. Who does not in this room agree we should not do more? But we can only do more if there is more resources, if there is more finance. So a big issue today is how do you get serious green finance in order to increase the ambition to tackle the climate challenge. I referred to health. Again, you know, we have come through this pandemic. Okay. Everybody, I think, in this room is vaccinated. Okay. Everybody got vaccinated as per the turn which they, were given. I tell you, as someone who's traveling during COVID, from 2020 I was on the road, it was my job. This is not the state of the entire world. There were many countries which did not see vaccines, saw limited vaccines, saw late vaccines, did not have the ability to some of them could not afford it, did not have the ability to get it into their population, could not get the shots in the arm. So Pandemic today has left a very deep psychological scar in the world, but a deep sense of anger that the developed countries looked after themselves during the pandemic, and barring India, and I will talk about that separately, barring India, very, very few countries actually made an effort to think about the rest of the world. And then, of course, there is terrorism. There was a time when, and we, still are particular targets, but more and more there's a realization it's a global issue. And that financing is a key part of blocking, how to block the financing is very important for countering terrorism. So, COVID, Ukraine, these big global issues. And finally, the fourth issue is technology. Because technology today is changing the world at such a rapid pace. It has huge promise. There are many things which we can do. In fact, even COVID, we were able to deal with it because COVID platform and the vaccines we invented and vaccines we manufactured helped us deal with it. But technology also creates today vulnerabilities, dangers. Who has your data? Is somebody using it for artificial intelligence? Are they using it in a way that you do not even know? So, how do you encourage trust and transparency? So, this is a big question. But on the positive side, look at actually the last 4 or 5 years. I would say actually going back to 2014. From the time that the Jan Dhan Yojana started, from the time that Aadhaar, by the way, in this book, there's another very important thing you must read about Aadhaar. Nandan Nilekani has a piece in this book. Now, Nandan Nilekani says that he went to every chief minister at that time, one of whom in Gujarat was, who? Huh? Now, he says in all the chief ministers he met, only one person appreciated what was the potential of Aadhaar. Today, 10 years later, we are all seeing what is the potential of Aadhaar. Without Aadhaar, Jan Dhan Yojana would not have happened. COVID would not have happened. Any of your scheme, Kisan Samman Nidhi, Awas Yojana, Garib Kalyan Yojana, none of this would have happened if we did not have a digital backbone. So the point I'm making is the same technology, it has great promise, it has great danger. The G20 is among the forums which looks at this. So when we meet today in G20, we are meeting because these 4 challenges, the challenges of COVID, the challenges of Ukraine, the challenges of climate, the challenges of digital, they are all coming together along with many other problems. And our presidency, because we are the chair, we have, we shape the agenda, we give it direction, we will have a very, very important role. Now, how are we handling our presidency? I think this is the 18th, if my memory serves me right, presidency, 17th or 18th. And I have myself attended more than half of them. So if you ask me, how is India handling the G20 presidency? I would say in one word, differently. Okay. How differently? Most countries, when you think of international conference, it's not only for other countries, it's us also. People do international conference in their capitals. Sometimes, okay, they may go, there's a financial capital. Maybe 1 or 2 other big cities. For the first time, the G20 meetings, and there are many meetings, there are almost 200 meetings. These 200 meetings are being done in 56 cities across the world, across India, and across the country. And that is why, in fact, the very idea that I'm in Hyderabad and actually talking to you about G20, I mean, when was the last time anybody came and talked to you about an international, conference or an international presidency that we have? This is different. And this is different because actually Prime Minister has thought through why he wants to handle the G20 in a particular way, and that is what I want to talk to you about. Now it's different, not only because how we are going to handle it, and I think Krishan Reddy ji actually explained to you how, the way in different places you present your food, you present your culture, you present your traditions, you show your diversity. So this is one part of it. There's another part of it. There are roughly about 200 countries in the world. At the G20, there are 20. We have called another 9 countries as guests, so let us say there are 30. 170 countries have an interest in what is the most important meeting in the world, but they are not there. Now, for the first time, one country, one prime minister decided, I will now talk to those countries and also get their views about how the G20 would be run, and particularly the countries of the global south. Countries of the global south, because these are developing countries, they are the countries who are hurting the most today in this situation. So, if you ask me today, tell me very in simple language, what is the G20 about? What will happen when G20 takes place? I would say 2 things will happen. G20 is getting India world ready for the world. G20 is about getting the world ready for India. This is really what it is about. Now, you can ask me, why should the world be ready? Why should India be ready for the world? We have existed for thousands of years. So has the world. We have to be ready for the world because there are a lot of possibilities there which will make a huge difference for our future. If we understand it, if we in a way utilize it, if we partner with it. And let me give you, to my mind, and I've really spent a lot of time thinking about it, 5 big reasons. 5 reasons why India should actually prepare to be more active in the world. The first is a very obvious one. The more we partner with the world, the faster we can actually accelerate our development. Now, normally you've heard this from many people, our FDI has increased so much. This is only one small element of what a partnership with the world is about. Because a partnership with the world is about capital, it is about technology, you get best practices, you get markets for our products, our services, our exports, and we need resources. Because remember, today, we are the 5th largest economy in the world, and we need actually more, we are also importing more and more resources. Now, in a way, it is very obvious to say this in Hyderabad, because you look at what has happened in your own immediate, in the city and in the region, that how much more global you have become, how you have used technology, how actually from, your own state, your own region, your own city, how much more you are dealing with the rest of the world and how much it has helped you. So, how do we speed up national development? The more we deal with the world, obviously on the right terms, with a lot of thought, the better it is for us. The second is we have to think of the world today as a global workplace. That Indian talent, Indian skill, Indian capabilities, these do not have to stay anymore within India. They actually can go out in big numbers. there is a huge demand in the world. You know, if you look today, there are developed countries where there is a demand, but there's no demographics. The young people are not there. The talent is not there. The skills are not there, not in those numbers. So when we actually interact with the world, especially in the last few years, we have seen this demand today for Indian talent and Indian skill. But if we have to get the full benefit of it, we will get it only when in India we prepare for it, that we ensure there is skills, that there is education, that there is talent, there is innovation, and there is protection and fairness to the people who go outside. But today the one big part of what is happening between us and the world is the world as a workplace. We should prepare for that, and you can prepare for it, you know, for the professionals, for the tech people, really by reaching agreements. And we have done. If you look, since Prime Minister Modi has come, we've done agreements with Germany, with Austria, with France, with Portugal, with UK, with Denmark. So there are a number of countries, with Japan. And we have opened these societies as workplaces for our skills and talent. But there are also, you know, other economies where actually blue-collar workers go in very large numbers. If you look at the Gulf, there are almost 80 lakh Indians who live in the Gulf. And many of them are actually blue-collar workers. Now, they need not just fairness, they also need protection. They need, if they get into problems, they do not have the resources to deal with it. And again, one of the things which the Modi government has done is we have created the ability so that when our workers have any problems abroad, they don't get health facilities. You know, there is sometimes somebody by some accident, you know, passes away abroad. How do we look after them? Now, this kind of approach, preparing for the global workplace, this we demonstrated during the COVID through the Vande Bharat mission. Through the Vande Bharat mission, when we went abroad and we actually got 7 crore people back to India. And in the history of the world, there is no country which has done that kind of evacuation exercise. Now, again, you know, when I say that we have to prepare for the global workplace, I am talking at exactly the right place. Because the number of people from Telangana that I meet abroad, when I look at the preparations you yourselves are making, you know, you have a university today which teaches foreign languages in great demand. Because that is part of the skill sets which young Indians need today. So, to me, first, we need to deal more with the world because it will help us accelerate our national development. 2, we need to prepare for the global workplace. And 3, there are big issues in the world that we need to address, and I spoke about some of them. You know, climate, terrorism, you know, maritime security, trade, standards. So if we are not active, if we are a non-player, we will not be able to shape this world. And today we are the 5th largest economy. We will be 3rd in the coming years. So how do we actually shape the big debates of the world? Then there is a 4th factor. The 4th factor is the competition among countries. You know, the competition among countries, like there's competition among political parties, there's competition even among individuals. Human beings are competitive. Now, international politics is about how to be competitive. Now, as I said, today's India cannot sit on the sidelines. We have too much at stake. If we do not participate, decisions will be made without us, without taking our interests into account. And this is something that we will not allow, we should not allow. And in fact, today's India under Narendra Modi is trying to influence that modern life. And then there is a 5th reason. In a way, you can say it is a non-material reason. Because, you know, till now I'm talking resources, trade, we must influence outcomes. There are big issues, we must find work. We are one of the world's oldest civilizations. And we are one of the few civilizations who have survived all these years in history and are today, even today, a powerful nation state. There are very, very few other civilizations like this. Now, why am I saying that to you? I'm saying that to you because in this changing world, with the growing capability that we have, with the greater influence that we have, with the profile, especially the standing of the Prime Minister, we have to make our culture, our traditions, our practices. We have also got to make it part of the collective global, you can say, way of living. And I give you a very practical example of it. In 2014, when Narendra Modi became Prime Minister, and he came to New York, September 2014. I was then ambassador in New York, in Washington. He first asked some of us, saying, we practice yoga around the world, people do it. Why don't we make this actually a global happening? And I'll give you the truthful answer. Very frankly, none of us had even thought of it. And once he put that idea in our mind, and once he puts an idea, he doesn't let go. So this ended up next year as an International Day of Yoga that we were able to get passed. And that was 2015. In the 7.5 years that have passed, look how much has changed. There is not a country in the world where it's not only just that you're practicing yoga, where, important, prestigious, influential, youthful people come and say, I also do it, I'm proud to do it, I want to be part of what is happening in the world. And in fact, last year, we had the coverage of the International Day of Yoga began with the easternmost country on the dateline and went through the entire world, and every country you could see step by step how they were celebrating it. Now, I give you that as one example. There are many other examples. There are examples, many of us use Ayurvedic medicines. There are many countries where you can't get it. But there are many countries where they don't allow it. So, if our culture, our civilization is to be given the respect that is due to it, we have to see that our practices, even, many of our cultural habits, there are some, there are societies where their own cultural or religious practices are accepted as a norm, but ours are not. Now, we have to ask ourselves, how long will we accept that? So, how do we shape the global, I would say, global culture as really one of the oldest civilizations? And for these reasons, we need today to really get India to be world ready. Now, I will do the reverse exercise for you. How should the world get India ready? Now, in fact, you can ask me, why should the world get India ready? Why does it matter to them? And again, I will give you 5 sharp reasons why India today matters to the world. Why, in fact, is the world striving to get India ready? The first is this enormous transformation which is taking place in India. Our problem, all of us, we are living in the middle of this change. It's happening hundreds of ways around us, every day, every week. So we are sort of used to it, But if you look from outside, and you reference this, with how India used to be before, now you will, the sharp change occurs very, very much to people. I mean, just yesterday, for example, we had the Chancellor, like the Prime Minister of Germany. He was last in India in 2012. He was then the mayor of one of their important cities. And he kept saying, to Prime Minister Modi and to all of us, I can't believe what, the change I am seeing. It strikes you, and I say this as someone, part of traveling abroad a lot, sometimes of living abroad. You have that ability to judge your own, society very, very objectively. So if you look at how we handle COVID, I cannot tell you how much global respect that we have got. If you, even today, I think the young lady who was speaking said something about, my videos or YouTube, so whatever it was. One of them, this was a real story which happened to me about going with my son to a restaurant in New York. And, he produced from his wallet one folded up paper saying, this is my vaccination certificate. And I showed my phone and said, it's here. So, the handling of the COVID, the fact that we produced vaccinations on a massive scale, we even invented vaccines, though I know some people had some doubts about it. So we did a digital platform. The second is actually the entire digital delivery. I've heard, from the World Bank, from the IMF, from actually leaders across the world, they look at the scale of what we are doing. And it will interest many of you to know. This leakage problem? You know what I mean by leakage, no? Leakage was when 10 rupees left Delhi and only 1 rupee reached. That leakage. Now, I discovered many other countries also had a leakage problem. And they actually look to us today, saying, how did you fix it? I mean, I want to say first we fixed it by having a different party in power. So, we of course, we then fixed it by applying technology also. So the point is, if you look at digital delivery, the scale of our digital delivery is astounding. You take any yojana, the kind of numbers, Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, 80 crore. 80 crore is the population of Europe and America, and still another 5-10 crore left out there. You look at the Jandhan Yojana, 40 crore. Even Ujjwala, 8 crore. 8 crore is the population of Germany. You look at beneficiaries of Awas Yojana. Awas Yojana, 30 crore. 30 million, 3 crore. 5 people per family. That means 15 crore people. That's the population of Japan. So, when they look at our programs, we think it's a program. For the world, it is a country, sometimes a continent, sometimes half the world. So, they look at this and then ask themselves, how is this happening? Why didn't it happen before 2014? As I said, 50% answer was technology. So the point I'm making is, and even infrastructure, you look today at the pace of infrastructure. Again, Kishan Reddy ji spoke about the Northeast connection. Any of you travel to any state in India and look at the work which is going on. Work on national highways, work on railways. I mean, every day you're reading a railway story. Something new has happened there, something has happened there. The airports, the water connection, the electricity connection. So when people see, a lot of these are coordinated through an initiative called Gati Shakti. So it is today our COVID handling, our digital delivery, our Gati Shakti, and what is of great interest to the world is the young people of India. They are looking at our talent, our education, at skills. You know, when they read about Startup India, I can tell you, you can actually see them, that they're looking at you very differently. They know more about how many unicorns there are in India than we do. Because it's for them a measurement of, you know, how the country is progressing. The second, of course, is the resolve and the independence of India. So first, they look at our capabilities, the change, I would say almost the revolution over the last 10 years. The second is the resolve and the strength of purpose that they see. Sometimes these are challenges which have troubled us for a long time. A very, very good example of that, actually bad example of that, is terrorism. But it's not only us. The rest of the world also compares. How did we react in 26/11? And how did we react in Uri and Balakot? They see the difference. Or you take today, you know what is happening in our northern borders with China. Don't forget, this happened, you know, when our lockdown had just started. We were in the middle, all of us, completely preoccupied with the COVID challenge. So, please appreciate the enormity of what Prime Minister Modi did. To deploy the Indian forces at these great heights in very difficult conditions, in the middle of COVID, and then, you know, take this challenge head on. I can tell you, entire world has taken note of it. Entire world has not only taken note of it, they've also taken note of the fact that since then, we have stood firm. Our diplomacy has backed up our deployment. We have made very, very clear that, you know, until there is a resolution of this issue, that our relations with China will not be normal. And that kind of, I would say, resolve and determination, the world takes note of. The world takes note of because not only have many countries not been able to display that, but we ourselves perhaps were not so determined and so effective in the way. Because, you know, we have sent soldiers before. It's not just a question of sending soldiers to the front. We've also had occasions when we sent them unprepared. And we saw the results of that. This time around, whoever has been sent has been fully, I would say, equipped, supported, ensured that they are able to stay at that level. There are challenges, especially of infrastructure, because for many years that was neglected. But even there, actually, I mean, if you look at the last 8 years after 2014, our roads in the northern areas have doubled. Our tunneling has tripled. Our infrastructure budget has gone up 4.5 times, almost 5 times. So there are people, you know, there are people who today maintain, oh, these factors, you know, infrastructure, these economic things, they don't matter. Let me tell you, they matter to the soldiers on the field. Because if we don't provide them infrastructure, we are not doing justice to them. You know, when we say we should not build infrastructure because the Chinese will then come and use it. Now, look at what the consequences was for our own soldiers. So, today, people note that difference. They note today that this is a much more resolute government. It's a more assured government. And it's not just, you know, on our borders. You all know how much pressure we came on in respect of the oil issue. You know, buying oil at a time when the global markets were very different. Now, the bottom line was we stood our ground. We ensured that the Indian consumer came first, that, we were able to explain to the rest of the world, saying these are our compulsions, and you please understand it the way we understand your compulsions. So this is a very different India that the world is saying. And, I give you that as an example. I'll give you a very different example. Many of you would have heard of this mechanism called Quad. Quad is something we set up with US, Japan, and Australia. This time around, the Quad was set up in 2017. 2017 at foreign secretaries level, 2019 at foreign ministers level, and from 2021, Prime Minister, it is at a summit level. Now, many of you may not know, the Quad was initially set up in 2007. And then one country put pressure. You can guess which one. And we backed down. That is the difference between 2007 and 2017. A third reason why the world is getting India ready is also our contributions. We are a little tight on time, so I'll just rush this part. When this Bangalore meeting was taking place, the IMF Director General was here. She said something very, very noteworthy. She said 15% of the growth, global economic growth this year is coming from India, 15%. That if you look in very adverse conditions, tremendous headwinds, the kind of headwinds I told you, COVID, Ukraine, debt, for us to maintain that 7% level is something which the world actually very much respects, it takes note of. But it's not just economic growth. I spoke about the talents of India. Remember, for them this is a contribution. There's a big semiconductor, there's a big chips debate. Who will control chips in the world is a huge strategic issue. The last time I was in the US, I was told by an American industry association saying 40,000 chip designers and engineers are in India, and without them, actually American industry will not be able to have that kind of position that it has. By the way, many of them in this city. So the point I'm making is, for the world, it is actually the changes of India, the strength of purpose in India, the I would say resolve, the self-confidence, the contributions that India is making, the ideas that India is tabling. Some of the big international initiatives have come from India. International Solar Initiative. We have right now this year, after the International Day of Yoga, Prime Minister had another idea. This time it's International Year of Millets. Now, I think I'm in a part of India where I don't have to explain millets to anybody. But remember one thing, and serious, I take this serious point. Millets was part of our history and heritage and culture. It was our food habit. We actually slowly started diluting it, giving it up. So when people speak about, our tradition, our history, this is not a question of, oh, that was in the past and we are headed in a modern direction. There are a lot of things which are very good for us in our culture, history, and traditions. And millet is a very, very good example of that. And finally, I think the world today is getting India ready because they see a country that is globally responsible, that is willing to to step out there, make a big difference. Since 2014, we have built a huge reputation in the world as what is called a first responder in a crisis. Countries do that sometimes, mostly in their own neighborhood. But many of you would have seen that in this earthquake which took place in Turkey, in 24 hours, our NDRF team was there. That we were able to set up a field hospital. So, anytime your mood is a little down, watch the YouTube of that field hospital. Watch what Turks have to say. To see what the world is saying today about India. You don't have to take it from an Indian foreign minister. I am a biased party. Listen to the world. Listen to the world talk about vaccines. Listen to the world talk about, Indian hospitals. Go to Sri Lanka. Ask them, which country has stood by you, in what manner. This is today what the world is seeing in us. So, let me therefore conclude on this note that the G20 is a unique opportunity. I think, as Kishanji said, these are exceptionally influential people who are going to come to India. Think of them as the top 100,000 influencers of the world. How do we influence the influencers? That is what this is about. We want them to go back with a real feel for India. Not the India they read in the newspapers and see in the TV. We want them to see authentic India. To feel it, to meet people, to carry away that personal sense. And this is not something the government or I or my ministry or other ministries we will do inside the conference halls. It is something that they will experience with the totality of the country, from all the people, all the experiences. The shops they go to, the hotels they eat in, the people they meet, the side events which happen, from everybody, from the people, who may receive them at the airport. It's to our engagement groups, the civil society. If we can get these people to really fully comprehend, appreciate all these changes, we would have done an enormous service to our country. That is the Prime Minister's vision of how the G20 is to be run. This is why it is in 56 cities. This is why we do not want it to be a Sarkari, Delhi-centric program. We want, in his words, a true Jan Bhagidari here. We want it to be a people's effort. And I'm really, really grateful that your forum today has allowed me a chance to put these messages across. Thank you very much.
Let us give him a standing ovation.
May I request everyone to extend their standing ovation to our keynote speaker for such insightful speech and message.
Friends, now we have
May I
question
now
number
request
and
all of you please sit down, take your seats, please settle down. And sir, what could I say? As I said initially, that your message has been a food for thought for many of us. And I'm sure from emphasizing the importance of skill development to socio-political, economic well-being, you have actually included everything in your speech. And your timed speech is absolutely timeless, sir.
Friends,
Thank you very much.
there is a question answer hour also. Please kindly, few questions we are Minister is ready to take. And I acknowledge the presence of the Hyderabad Central University Vice Chancellor, sir, Mr. Bijay Rao. He has a question for you. And then I acknowledge the presence of Mr. L.V. Prasad ji, former Chief Secretary, and also Mr. Vinod Agarwal, IAS officer, retired.
We would like to
And,
add to
just-
it that Shri Bandi Sanjay Garu is here
Mr.
amidst us.
Bandi Sanjay,
Is
Member
here
of
with
Parliament and Bharatiya Janata Party President, is also here, and I welcome him on behalf of the
We welcome him, sir.
Nationalist Thinkers Forum. Thank you. Questions by Mr. Vijay Rao, Mr. Vice Chancellor of the Central University.
Namaste, namaste, sir. Your articulation was very, very elaborate and very deep. My question is the following. India will be the president of G20 from December 22 to November 23, 1 year. We need to strategize that our impact of Indianizing the globe should happen beyond G20 presidency duration. How do we strategize this so that our impact is felt even beyond our own duration, beyond our own presidency duration? Thank you.
Okay, I'll take one more question. Yeah, sure. Please.
May I request everyone please be seated. There is a lot of chaos here. Sir would definitely answer each and everybody. Kindly be seated. Please be seated. Please. Requesting you.
Okay, I will take one more question, but I'll only take a question from someone who's sitting. So, ma'am, please.
Yes. So, good evening, sir. I'm a museologist, a museum expert and an author also, a scholar of Indian miniature paintings. As G20 is going on, I request you to bring the museums in the forefront so that museums also play of different regions. Yes, the National Museum is very good. Delhi, we have very good museums.
I got
Yes,
it.
thank
Okay,
you, sir.
please. Okay, you are next. Yeah, okay.
I think I
Please.
am asking a question which should be posed to the finance minister, but because you are a senior cabinet colleague of her, I am raising this question in this forum, though it looks to be slightly off the mark. See, as a person who worked in Road Transport Corporation in higher positions, during COVID period, I have sent a message to finance minister to take care of the road transport corporations, because you asked the people not to travel in the public transport. For months together, they were sitting idle. At that time, I have requested her to provide subsidy to the state road transport corporations. Till today, it was not done, and a corporation which was built by us for 35 years is crumbling. I request you to pass
Okay,
on this
sure,
subject to us.
Could you give it to the young gentleman next to you? That gentleman, please. I'll come to you, please.
Thank you so much, sir. My question is a little academic in nature.
Short.
Sir, the G20 theme is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which means that the entire world is one family. Where do you see the world in this regard? That is becoming one family in, say, next 10 to 15 years, especially in the light of emergence of influential non-state actors such as Google, Twitter, cryptocurrency, and maybe some more that we are not, maybe some more of some different nature we are not aware as on today. Would that entail diminishing of the role of the state itself, or diminishing the Westphalian concept of state, say blurring of borders?
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Now, let me do one thing. Let me first answer these questions. Then I will come. I assure you, including people who are standing there, I will take my time. I will take your questions. So please be a little bit patient. So the first question was, this is a G20 presidency. What happens after this? Now, there are three things I would ask you to note. Number one, in the G20, even after you give up the presidency, there's a troika system. The previous president, the current president, and the future president, they all work together, and they have in many ways a very high degree of influence and, shall I say, standing in the organization. So it is not that it will suddenly come to an end at the end of this year. Number two, the way we are handling it, I think a lot of this credibility will stay with us even after G20 is over. You know, when Prime Minister and his senior ministers have together talked directly, personally to 125 presidents, prime ministers and ministers of the world, it has a lasting impact. So we hope that many of these consultations and practices will become, in a way, part of international politics, will become a kind of a culture among us. The third is actually how we ourselves conduct the presidency and what are the outcomes and the results of it. Sometimes the outcome can be a very, very powerful outcome which can go beyond. On the question regarding the museums which the lady asked, our objective, and I have the Minister of Culture also sitting here, you know, when we are doing the G20 programs, when we are doing the G20 programs, as I said, we do not want those who come to only see a conference room, only see a hotel, only see an airport. We want them to go to our museums. We are taking them to our museums. We are taking them to our historical, cultural sites. You will see that. You know, I myself, in some of the meetings which I am associated with, in one of them, development ministers meeting, I am personally taking them to a museum. So I assure you, our effort will be to make sure that our heritage, our culture will get the fullest exposure during this period. Yes, on the RTC, you know, on the RTC question, I note what you are saying. To be very honest, I do not have a specific answer. One thing I have learned in government, do not talk about things which you do not know. I also note that is not necessarily a trait in politics. I know apparently some people have that freedom, but the fourth question, the one about non-state actors. Non-state actors, I think, are increasingly recognized as a problem. You know, there was a time when Pakistan pretended non-state actors were doing things. I mean, we all knew that there was a state behind the non-state actor. But I think today the tolerance of the world, people have figured it out. See, one of the issues with the technology age is that many things come to light. But non-state actors will be always in international relations a challenge, because international relations is the building blocks are states. We are used to thinking states. But the idea of a kind of a Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam culture, outlook, is how do you actually get different diverse countries, regions, groupings to work on what are common problems. And the more we make them common, the more effective it would be. So what I'll do is I will take one more round. But, you know, let me spread it out a bit. Yeah, okay.
Hello, sir, this is Dr. Santosh here. This is Dr. Santosh. Here, sir.
Okay.
I have a small question for you. Sir, I have visited UN South-South Cooperation meeting.
Give me a question.
Yeah, in that forum, there were many countries which did not have even basic disability services. For example, Palestine and those sort of countries were requesting. And I think after seeing the Turkey work that Indian government has done, how can we play a major role in health services, disability services across the globe?
Got it.
And small connection with this, did we have any role to play in Yazidi rehabilitation also, Yazidis?
Yeah, can you give the, no, to this gentleman, please.
So my question is this: as we grow in stature and responsibility, we are also getting a lot of people like BBC and George Soros and other people. You know, I mean, not only from outside. We know that there are people who are inside, intellectuals all over the world.
I haven't said anything. No, please. Hello. Excuse me. I would like a question from this side. One of you figure it out. Yeah. Yes. No, wait.
Excuse me, sir. Excuse me.
No, please.
What's your word on that? It's been 4 years for Balakot strikes, and we have been given n number of chances for Pakistan. Still,
Got it. Got the question. Okay, young India. Young India. Before old India answers, but first young India gets a. Yeah.
Respected sir. Sir, I want to say that when we are talking about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we are looking at the world, but right now what we are learning in newspapers is there's a lot of tussle going.
Question.
Yeah, there's a lot of tussle going between the central government and the state government. So, do you think it will further, like, it will lead to more crisis, or what's the solution or the way forward to it, sir? There's a lot of the acts and all being stayed there in the parliament and all.
Okay. Okay, I will take one question from a lady. I think I'll take, gender balance, please. No. I will.
Good. Thank you, sir, for the honor you gave me. I'm Pankaj Srinivasan, and I would like to first emphasize on cow and beef export to be banned maximum from India.
Okay. Okay. Now, please, let me, okay.
Yeah, thank you, sir. So this is JC Srinivas Bhasheti. Can the G20 take an action wherein we can create a mechanism so that the countries don't fall into the trap of some others? Any mechanism? And another small thing, sir.
No, only one question.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
$25 billion per month of India. Our situation is just 20 months away from the Sri Lanka situation. And our...
No, sorry. No. Okay. So, okay. Now, I'd suggest you all get back and let me respond now. Let me respond to the various questions. One on the Palestine. We actually today have development programs in 78 countries in the world. 78 countries in the world. We help 78 countries in the world in different ways. You can have a situation like Turkey, which is like an earthquake. Even in Palestine, we help with they have a like a relief organization. So India today is seen as a country with a big heart, with growing capabilities, with a leader who has a global vision, with a generosity which covers everybody. So that is the first. I think I got some comments. I treat them as comments. I don't think they deserve specific answers because I think they were meant as the views of the persons who asked them. On center state, look, I don't want to get into the politics of it because particularly as this is a non-political forum, I think all of us as citizens of India, at the end of the day, whatever the politics within the country on national issues, we want to see a united country. For me, as someone who's grown up on the foreign policy side, I always wished, I still wish, that we treat foreign policy and national security as areas of national consensus. When I see political, like point scoring, sometimes I would say polemics, I don't think the country is served well by it. You know, if our troops are on the border, if somebody said it's, you know, wait, Balakot, if our Air Force has taken action in Balakot, and you start questioning that, if you have troops on the border, and you know, the focus should be on how do I improve their infrastructure? You know, how do I give them the right weapons? How do I make sure they can have the cold weather, clothing to last out there? Because I cannot have a repeat of 1962. So, for me, it's actually, you know, I'm really disappointed when I see national security issues made into party politics. I think the country deserves better than that. You know, this is not, somebody said this is New India asking the question. I think New India expects rest of India to behave better than that. So, on, you know, debt trap, yes, I think we are very, very, you know, we've been advocates of responsible lending, of connectivity which is viable. These are not new issues, but they are issues on which we have long taken a position. And finally, you know, somebody made some, no, please.
Please, sir,
somebody, you know, I will do one thing. I will tell Mr. Rao next time I should do a session with all of you, maybe by video conference.
Sure, we always would love to have you here.
Today I think I need to head out. So thank you all once again.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir, for your patience answering the question. We have, excuse me, please. We have another just 1 minute. We have a vote of thanks here. There are many guests here. Sir has. We will. Sir will come again. Please kindly cooperate. Yeah, okay. That's right. And I request. We'll conclude. One word of thanks is there. I thank you very much. Now I request Mr. Veerababu to kindly propose vote of thanks. Professor Veerababu to kindly.
Good evening to
Pandit
all.
Sanjay ji and
on behalf of Forum for Nationalist Thinkers, I deem it a privilege
I acknowledge the
formal vote
presence
of
of Mr.
thanks.
Pandit Sanjay, member of the
I
Parliament,
express my
and President
profound
Bharatiya Janata
gratitude
Party.
to
No
Honorable
one should
Union
come there.
Minister of External Affairs, Sri Jaishankar ji, for sparing his precious time to come here and explain to us the significance of India's G20 presidency.
I
His
request all the
insightful
delegates to
presentation, in fact, provided such clarity that even die-hard critics of Modi have no choice but to concede the efficacy of Modi's statesmanship and Jaishankar ji's diligent diplomacy. Sir, your talk and the way you answered the questions, you have taken the whole gathering in your stride. Thank you, sir. I thank to Honorable Union Minister for Culture and Tourism, donor Sri G. Kishan Reddy ji, for making it convenience to participate in the meeting and delivering a spectacular speech.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And I thank to Sri R. Subhash Reddy ji, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, for his valuable message and time. And I thank to the entire audience here who made this meet a grand success. And I thank to Bandi Sanjay Kumar ji for sparing here his time. And my thanks to office bearers of Forum for Nationalist Thinkers who planned everything with detail and precision. I thank the police and all those who stood by us. I thank the staff of Hotel Marriott for their cooperation, and I thank to each and every one of here who present here. I thank to one and all.